2025. The year opened with the Korean music industry holding its breath. BTS was still scattered across military bases, and Blackpink had officially fractured into 4 distinct solo paths under new labels. Meanwhile, NewJeans was locked in a very public war with their own company. For the first time in nearly a decade, album sales had actually dipped down nearly 20% to roughly 92 million copies. The big names in the business were either absent, fighting in court, or building independent empires outside the very system that made them famous. This is the year K-pop went to war with itself, went Hollywood, and finally demanded respect on the global stage. This is the year legends returned to reclaim their thrones, while rookies rewrote the playbook. This is the year contracts were tested in the Supreme Court. And a fictional Netflix film about K-pop somehow earned more Grammy nods than most real groups. Major shift that defined the last 12 months and the moments that changed the industry forever. January 2025 began with an absence so loud it defined everything else. BTS had been gone for over a year. Jin and J-Hope had completed their service in 2024, but the remaining 5 members wouldn't return until June 2025. This BTS hiatus was felt in the pockets of every major label. Analysts pointed directly to their absence as the reason for the industry's first sales decline in years. K-pop had learned to survive without them, but it had never stopped waiting for them. While everyone looked toward June, the members of Blackpink were busy making a different kind of history. Having left YG Entertainment for solo work in 2024, they spent early 2025 proving they could thrive independently. On February 28, Lisa released her highly anticipated album Alter Ego, led by the trap-heavy F Up the World. The real battle, however, was happening in court. NewJeans' dispute with Adore and parent company Hybe had exploded into public view in late 2024. The group's former creative director, Min Hee-jin, had been ousted from her CEO position after accusations of attempting to take NewJeans with her to start a rival label. The members sided with her. Hybe and Adore accused them of breaching their contracts. By January 2025, the conflict had escalated to a full legal war. Member Honey had testified at South Korea's National Assembly about workplace bullying, the first time an active idol had taken a contract dispute to the government level. NewJeans had become the test case for idol rights in South Korea. Could idols terminate contracts if their working conditions were hostile? Did companies own the artists, or did artists own their careers? The courts would decide. The entire industry was watching, because if NewJeans won, the very power structure of K-pop would be dismantled. February also saw the King's return. G-Dragon, the legendary Big Bang leader who had been mostly quiet since 2020, released Übermensch, his first full album in over a decade. G-Dragon was a first-generation idol, someone who had debuted in 2006 when K-pop was still a regional phenomenon. But if G-Dragon represented the industry's roots, Hearts 2 Hearts represented its future. On February 24, SM Entertainment finally launched their first new girl group in 5 years, an 8-member powerhouse. Their single album, The Chase, shattered records, surpassing 400,000 first-week sales on Hanteo chart to become the highest-selling girl group debut in history. Furthermore, Hearts 2 Hearts brought a viral cultural moment when member Carmen made history as the first Indonesian idol to win a trophy on a Korean music show just 15 days after debut. SM's new era was ready to compete for the 5th-generation crown. Islet, a rookie girl group from Hybe's B-Lift Lab that had debuted in March 2024, was still riding the wave of Magnetic, the first K-pop debut song ever to enter the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 91. By early 2025, Magnetic had surpassed 700 million streams on Spotify. On the boy group side, TWS, a rookie group from Pledis Entertainment that debuted in January, had achieved something even more shocking. Their debut song, Plot Twist, became the first boy group track to top Melon's annual chart since iKON's Love Scenario in 2018. In an industry increasingly dominated by girl groups on Korean charts, TWS proved boy groups could still win domestically. They brought a boyhood pop concept. Youthful, innocent, melodic. And that resonated with Korean listeners who had grown tired of aggressive, performance-heavy concepts. January and February were defined by this constant tension of the old world fracturing and a new, unpredictable world taking its place. The industry couldn't wait for what came next, but it also couldn't control it. On the 15th of March 2025, NewJeans attempted a bold move, performing at ComplexCon Hong Kong under the name NJZ, a transparent attempt to rebrand and distance themselves from Adore. The response was swift. Within hours, Adore filed an injunction. The Seoul Central District Court sided with the label, blocking the group from using any name variation outside their contract. In this industry, the company owns the identity. While the Bunnies organized massive protests outside HYBE headquarters, the legal precedent was set. NewJeans might have been winning the cultural war, but they were losing the legal one. While NewJeans fought for their freedom, other groups faced accountability of a different kind. In early April, Kiss of Life, a rookie girl group from S2 Entertainment, held a live stream where members dressed in hip-hop inspired attire and spoke with exaggerated Black American accents. International fans accused the group of cultural appropriation and mocking Black culture. Within days, Kiss of Life lost over 200,000 Instagram followers. Their scheduled appearance at KCON LA was canceled by organizers, companies issued vague apologies and moved on. But 2025 was different. Fans were less forgiving and consequences were real. Kiss of Life's career momentum stalled immediately. Amidst the controversy, the music kept moving. Jennie's Ruby arrived on March 7, proving her independent label Odd Atelier could hold its own on the global stage. The album peaked at number 47 on the Billboard Hot 100. J-Hope, freshly discharged from military service, dropped solo music like Mona Lisa that debuted in the top 10 on Korean charts, while Les Serafim's Crazy and NMIX's polarizing mix pop sound proved the fourth generation was more than capable of carrying the industry's weight. These comebacks were significant not for breaking records, but for proving the fourth generation could hold the industry without BTS. Les Serafim sold over 1 million albums in the first week. And NMIX's fan base grew despite lukewarm critical reception. Jennie, despite being independent from YG, still charted globally. The infrastructure was strong, the next generation was ready. BTS's absence had created space for others to rise, and they were rising. But as the music reached new heights in April, the industry was reminded of the heavy price of the spotlight. Only 5 weeks after going public, aespa's Karina and actor Lee Jae-wook announced their split. It was a sobering moment, a breakup fueled by protest trucks and forced apologies, showing that even in a globalized industry, an idol's right to a personal life was still a battlefield. April had marked the beginning of a subtle shift in how K-pop marketed itself internationally. Labels began emphasizing authenticity over perfection. Groups posted more unfiltered behind-the-scenes content. Idols spoke more openly about mental health, exhaustion, and the pressures of fame. On the 20th of June 2025, Netflix released an animated film that many expected to be a niche curiosity, K-pop Demon Hunters. A fictional K-pop group discovers they're actually demon hunters, using music to fight supernatural threats. Within 2 weeks, it became the most watched animated film in Netflix history, and by August, it had surpassed 500 million views to become the platform's biggest film of all time. The lead single Golden by Huntrix spent 8 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming the longest-running K-pop chart topper ever. K-pop Demon Hunters did something no real K-pop act had fully achieved. It made K-pop the subject of mainstream Western entertainment. It was the moment Hollywood stopped trying to break K-pop and started embracing it as a narrative universe. While fiction dominated the screens, reality dominated the headlines. In early June, the reunion of the decade became a global reality. 2NE1's 2025 Welcome Back Global Tour set the bar for nostalgia. From the moment the members stepped onto the stage, it was clear that time hadn't touched their fire. Drawing over 400,000 fans across Asia and North America, they performed their iconic hits in their rawest, most powerful forms, and reminded the world that while K-pop constantly evolves, the throne 2NE1 built remains permanent. The long-awaited discharge week finally arrived in June. RM and V were discharged on June 10, followed by Jimin and Jungkook on the 11th, and Suga on the 21st. Their first group live stream on July 1 broke every internal record for Weverse, and the subsequent 12% surge in HYBE's stock price was a literal BTS effect. They announced a spring 2026 album and a world tour. K-pop fans, who had been waiting for nearly 2 years, finally had a date. BTS was back. But the most profound moment of the summer was quiet. In May, news broke that Suga had donated 5 billion won to Severance Hospital, the largest single donation by a Korean entertainer to a medical institution. He had spent his alternative service volunteering with children with autism, developing a music therapy program called Mind, which used music therapy to help autistic children express themselves. The news only broke because hospital staff confirmed it to media. It shifted the industry's standard from performative PR to genuine, generational social impact. Suga showed what was possible when an artist used their wealth and influence for lasting change. These were months when K-pop stopped asking for permission and started taking space. K-pop Demon Hunters proved K-pop could dominate Hollywood on its own terms. BTS's reunion proved the biggest group in the world could disappear for 2 years and return even stronger. Suga's donation proved idols could create real, lasting social change beyond music. July 2025 belonged to the veterans. While younger groups fought for viral TikTok moments, the legends returned to remind the world who built the industry. G-Dragon, Big Bang's leader and one of K-pop's most influential figures, dominated the summer in a way no one anticipated. On the 15th of July 2025, G-Dragon performed at the Apex Summit in Seoul, a diplomatic event attended by world leaders and foreign dignitaries. He was the only K-pop artist invited to perform, and his setlist included songs spanning his 19-year career. G-Dragon had been elevated from pop star to cultural ambassador, representing Korean power on a global diplomatic stage. 1 month later, in August, G-Dragon received the Okwan Order of Cultural Merit, one of South Korea's highest civilian honors. At 37, he was the youngest recipient in the award's history. The citation praised his contributions to spreading Korean culture globally and fostering national pride through music. K-pop idols had received awards before, but this was different. This was the government officially recognizing an idol as a cultural institution, not just an entertainer. But G-Dragon wasn't done. At the Melon Music Awards in November, he would sweep 7 awards, including 3 Daesong.
Well, I said I would be back. I would never let you go. Pick a petal of a flower, do you love me? Nope. Do you love me? Do you love me? Me too. 감사합니다. Yep.
Meanwhile, Twice made their own history. On July 25, the group became the first female K-pop act to headline Lollapalooza in Chicago, one of the largest music festivals in the United States. The performance drew over 100,000 attendees. Twice performed for 90 minutes, mixing their biggest hits with English-language tracks tailored for the American audience. The setlist included I Can't Stop Me, The Feels, and Moonlight Sunrise, songs specifically designed to appeal to Western listeners without abandoning their Korean identity. They followed this in August by becoming the first K-pop group to perform at the iconic Victoria's Secret fashion show in New York. Celebrating their 10th anniversary with all 9 original members, Twice shattered the 7-year curse and proved that girl groups could achieve the same permanent mainstream status as any Western pop icon. The summer also brought Blackpink's most surprising move. On July 11, the group released Jump, their first group comeback since all 4 members had left YG Entertainment. And the result was a global hit. Jump debuted at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and top charts in over 30 countries. The music video reached 100 million views in 48 hours. Blackpink proved that idols could leave their agencies, build successful solo careers, and still reunite as a group on their own terms. They had renegotiated the power dynamic, owning their name, their image, and their future. This was the blueprint every idol group dreamed of. But even in a year of unprecedented agency and power, the shadow of the spotlight remained as intrusive as ever. By late July, the high of the summer's musical triumphs was punctured by a sudden, toxic wave of speculation involving aespa's Winter and BTS's Jungkook. What began as baseless social media deep dives into alleged matching tattoos and coincidental Instagram posts spiraled into a headline-dominating scandal. It was a recurring, painful reminder of the industry's unresolved paradox that no matter how much global respect idols earned, they still fighting for the simple right to exist and to love outside of the public's constant, unforgiving gaze. On October 30, the ruling came down swiftly. After months of legal battles, public testimonies, and national debates about idol rights, the court sided definitively with Adore. NewJeans contracts were valid and binding through 2029. The court ruled that while the members had grievances, none rose to the level of contractual breach that would justify termination. The decision was a crushing blow to NewJeans and their supporters. For months, fans and industry observers had watched the case unfold, hoping it would set a new precedent for idol rights. It was a cold confirmation of the status quo. In South Korea, the legal system protects corporate investment over individual artist freedom. While the bunnies were devastated, the ruling ignited a national debate, forcing the National Assembly to fast-track discussions on limiting contract lengths and protecting idol mental health. NewJeans lost the case, but they sparked a legislative revolution. While NewJeans fought their legal battle, other controversies exposed deeper systemic issues. In early October, investigative journalists uncovered details about the W Korea Gala, an annual charity event ostensibly raising money for breast cancer research. Over 90 top K-pop stars attended the October event. Despite a guest list of K-pop's wealthiest elite, the charity event had only raised 1.1 billion won, around 800,000 USD overall for the past 20 years. With funds allegedly diverted to operational costs and idols contractually forced to attend, the gala became a symbol of K-pop's hollow philanthropy. The backlash was so severe that the 2026 event was canceled entirely, forcing labels to reckon with the fact that fans now demand genuine impact over staged PR. During the 2025 event, Jay Park performed Mame, a sexually suggestive song at a breast cancer awareness gala. Fans questioned how this qualified as charity work. October also brought geopolitical complications. aespa member Ningning, a Chinese national, faced a major controversy when a 2022 social media post resurfaced. In the post, Ningning had shared a photo of a mushroom cloud-shaped lamp, which resembled a nuclear explosion, reignited tensions between China and Japan amid escalating political disputes. On December 31, Ningning withdrew from the Kohaku performance, citing influenza. No one believed the official explanation. Meanwhile, Hybe faced international condemnation when the producer of Gnarly revealed that the Cat's Eye track featured explicit adult audio samples. In a social media video telling viewers they could take a guess where it comes from, he explicitly stated he added the sound to the track because it was missing something. A disturbing oversight considering the group included a 17-year-old minor. It was a stark reminder that in the rush for viral, bold concepts, labels often gamble with the safety and reputations of their youngest stars.
Oh my gosh, bro. You know you didn't put that in there.
Wouldn't be a hit without it.
Despite the controversies, October brought artistic triumphs. NMIXX, JYP's girl group known for their divisive mix-pop sound, songs that abruptly switch between genres mid-track, had achieved something unprecedented. Their single Blue Valentine, released in September, jumped from triple digits to #1 on the Circle chart in a single week. The climb from triple digits to the top was one of the steepest in K-pop history. More significantly, Blue Valentine ended the reign of Golden, the K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack hit that had dominated Korean charts for 100 consecutive days. They achieved a music show grand slam, winning on every major weekly program. Blue Valentine spent 4 weeks at #1 and became NMIXX's first Circle digital chart topper. After years of being the underdogs, NMIXX finally proved that their experimental sound could capture the mainstream, ending October on a rare note of pure musical triumph. The same month, Just Be member Bain made history at the group's Los Angeles concert. During the October 18 show, Bain came out as gay, becoming one of the few Korean male idols to publicly announce their sexuality while still active. He covered Lady Gaga's Born This Way during the performance. Bain's announcement was groundbreaking in an industry where LGBTQ+ idols rarely came out publicly due to conservative cultural attitudes in South Korea. Crucially, other idols followed. Cat's Eye's Lara came out as queer in an interview, and XG's Coconut spoke openly about gender identity. Younger idols with international careers felt empowered by global fandom acceptance to live visibly and authentically, pushing the boundaries that their agencies still rigidly enforce back in South Korea. September also marked a major milestone for 17. All 13 members simultaneously occupied the top 13 spots on Billboard's K-pop Artist 100 chart, a historic achievement. The group, celebrating its 10th anniversary, performed a standalone concert on Seoul's Jamsu Bridge, a unique outdoor venue that drew over 200,000 fans. 17 received a presidential commendation at the Korea Popular Culture Arts Awards for their contributions to Korean culture. They were also appointed UNESCO Goodwill Ambassadors for Youth, donating $1 million to global youth education initiatives. Their decade-long success reinforced the lesson that creative control and an unbroken lineup were the ultimate recipes for longevity in this volatile industry. The industry was breaking down and evolving all at once, leaving one central question for the year ahead. Would K-pop's future be forged by internal growth or forced by external pressure? November 2025 began under a cloud of tragedy. On November 19, a devastating apartment fire in Hong Kong's Kowloon district claimed the lives of over 60 people, leaving the city in a week of deep mourning. Just 2 days later, the industry faced an impossible choice: whether to proceed with the Mama Awards at Hong Kong's Asia World Expo or delay it. The event went forward, but the usual spectacle was replaced by somber reflection. There was no red carpet. Instead, artists wore black memorial ribbons and delivered stripped-back performances. G-Dragon scrapped his high-energy choreography, choosing instead to perform a somber version of Untitled and even removing the word burn from his lyrics out of respect. Alongside 17's contribution, G-Dragon donated 1 million Hong Kong dollars to the victims, turning the night into a fundraiser that tested K-pop's commitment to community over commerce. Despite the heavy atmosphere, the awards solidified 2025's hierarchy. Stray Kids took home Album of the Year for 8, crowning a year where their Dominate World Tour grossed over $300 million. Yet, the night truly belonged to G-Dragon. Sweeping 4 trophies to bring his annual total to 11, G-Dragon's 2025 comeback had proven that second-generation idols were still the standard. The year's most painful saga reached its conclusion on December 29, when Adore officially terminated Danielle's contract, effectively fracturing NewJeans. While the other 4 members returned to activities under the label, Danielle's exit and the ensuing legal threats served as a grim reminder of the power agencies still hold over idols. Huntrix, the fictional group from K-pop Demon Hunters, also received a Song of the Year nomination for Golden. The nomination sparked debates about whether fictional groups should be eligible for real awards, but the music was real, performed by real vocalists, produced by real hitmakers. The fact that the characters didn't exist didn't change the song's impact. Cat's Eye, HYBE's global girl group, received a nomination for Best New Artist, marking a rare instance of a girl group breaking into that category. Most Best New Artist nominations often went to solo acts or rock bands. Cat's Eye's inclusion signaled that K-pop groups, even those not entirely Korean, were being taken seriously by the Recording Academy. The year ended with another milestone. Chorus, HYBE's third boy group after BTS and TXT, released their debut EP in November. The album sold 1.19 million copies in its first week, one of the best-selling rookie albums in K-pop history. Chorus won Rookies of the Year at the TikTok Music Awards. The group's success proved HYBE's infrastructure remained dominant, even as BTS prepared their 2026 comeback. The company had built a system that could produce hits regardless of which group carried the banner. But if HYBE showed structural dominance, SM's Hearts to Hearts showed the power of a viral phenomenon. By December, the rookies who had set records in February completed a historic royal coronation. They achieved an unprecedented sweep of 7 Best New Artist trophies across every major ceremony, including the Mama Awards and the Melon Music Awards. The emotional peak of the season came when member Carmen made history as the first Indonesian idol to win a major individual award in Korea, a moment that immediately went viral globally. Hearts to Hearts had become the new global standard for the 5th generation. These were the months of closure and confirmation. It ended with the results of an industry that had finally, undeniably, evolved. 2025. For 12 months, the industry tested boundaries it had avoided for decades. We finally got an answer to whether K-pop could dominate Hollywood. We saw whether the second generation could still compete. The answer is an undeniable yes. But 2025 also held up a mirror to what the industry still refuses to fix. The W Korea Gala revealed a hollow charity culture, while the Cat's Eye gnarly controversy and Ning Ning's geopolitical struggles proved that minors remain vulnerable and careers can still be derailed by borders. K-pop has grown massively in 2025, but it didn't necessarily grow carefully. NewJeans became the year's defining symbol. Their fractured ending was a warning that the system still protects companies over artists. Yet the conversation they started has made the unthinkable fight a reality for the next generation. BTS's absence left a vacuum that no one else could fill, but their return is awaited by the whole industry. 2025 will be remembered as the year K-pop stopped asking for permission. The era of waiting is over. The industry didn't become perfect, but it finally became loud enough to demand change. Although messy and imperfect, the era of demanding has begun. With the return of its greatest titans and a new generation that refuses to play by the old rules, the silence is officially over and the real roar is about to begin.